Namaste. How are you today? Good? Little cold? Yes, it is a wintry morning and nothing better to study the concept of Abhinaya. As you all know, the purpose of the play is conveyed to the spectators through Abhinaya, says Professor Thalekar. He is emphatically establishing the fact that there can be no drama without Abhinaya, thus reiterating Bharata Muni's claim that Abhinaya becomes Natya. Abhinaya is that component that Brahma called from the Yajurveda, Yajurvedayam Abhinayam, and along with Pathya from Rig, Gana from Sama and Rasa from Atharva Veda, created the fifth Veda, the Natya Veda. He refers to Natya as the Lokanu Kriyate, the imitation of the good and the bad deeds and emotions of the people in different situations, where these are depicted through the Abhinaya of gestures and such other, the words, the costume, the facial expression, and then it becomes Natya. This concept is well established when in the 8th chapter, Bharata says that Natya in all its variations and divisions is based on the 4 Abhinayas. Again in the Sangraha, the digest, and listing the 11 constituents of the Natya in the 6th chapter, Abhinaya is mentioned as one of the constituents. Rasa, Bhava, Abhinaya, Dharma, Vritti, Pravrittiha, Siddhiha, Swarastha, Todayam, Ganam, Rangacha, Sangraha. In the chapter 8 of the Natya Shastra, Bharata Muni's disciples who have just finished assimilating the concept of Bhava and Rasa ask him to explain what is Abhinaya. The rishis who are his disciples say, with your grace and explanation, we have learned the proper origin and nature of emotions and bhava, sentiments, rasa, in their entirety. Now, we would like to learn the different types of representations, that is Abhinaya, identified by the knowledgeable masters of drama in a theatrical presentation. Why is it called Abhinaya? How many variations of this have been enumerated? And so on. As you see, Abhinaya is very important. Asserting the importance of Abhinaya, Bharata starts explaining from the etymology of the word Abhinaya and then goes on to elucidate its various types, their origin and internal variants, and finally their application. Thus, the concept of Abhinaya in all its variety almost becomes the main body of the Natya Shastra treatise. Bharata explains that Abhinaya etymologically is derived from the prefix Abhi and the verbal root Ni, to which the suffix of AC comes from Yarach Sutra, is added, forming the word Abhinaya. The root Ni preceded by Abhi gives the sense of directed towards, Abhimukhya, hence that which carries the performance towards the spectators, bringing out the meaning clearly before them, is termed as Abhinaya. Abhi, the prefix, means towards, and Ni stands for carrying, Nayati. Hence, it represents that element which helps us to put forward any idea. In our current terminology, as we talk daily, Abhinaya can be explained as the art of communication. It can be understood as the histrionic expression of the mood, emotion and nature of play through 4 fundamental modes of communication. You know them very well. They are Angika Abhinaya, the communication to physical gestures, Vachika Abhinaya, that is verbal communication, Aharya is communication through ornaments, costumes, sets and such, and Satvika is the emotional communication. Natya depends on Abhinaya or enactment to produce the aesthetic pleasure of rasa, which is the main purpose of Natya. Bharata defines Natya as imitation, anukarnaya, and glorification, anukarnata. It should be dramatically glorified imitation of the whole creation, the universe. It is therefore a recreation. Only then it will be able to communicate the desired meaning to the spectator and become a source and a sort of entertainment. Dr. Padma Subramaniam says, and she says explicitly, that the objective would be world is personalized by the actor and then again externalized through Abhinaya. In other words, it is the process of transformation of being and becoming. When realities of life with all its pleasures and pain are applied through Abhinaya of four kinds, it is Natya. It is seemingly real yet illusionary. You are, but you are not. The fourfold Abhinaya, let us go into some more details. Angika Abhinaya is a communication through the body movements. It can be explained as the physical gesticulation of a concept through the coordinated movement of the anga or major limbs and upanga or the minor limbs. As it is even said now today and accepted that any body, the body speaks. After that, you may create its stylization in the body through anga and upanga, but body by itself in its natural process speaks. The gesture of the limbs are divided into three parts, namely Sharira, those belonging to the body, the Mukhaja belonging to the face, and Cheshta Kruta, those resulting from the movements of all the limbs which are made up of the Sakha, Anga and Upanga. The entire body is analyzed under two divisions, the Anga or the major limbs and Upanga or the minor limbs. The major ones are Sharira, head, Hasta, Ura, Parshva, Kati, Pada, and minor are Netra, Bru, Nasha, Adhara, Kapola and Chubuka. The Sharira Upanga such as the Griva, neck, Bahu, belly, Uru, Janga and Kara, Vartata or Hasta Karana involving the movements of the wrist. The sthanas or static postures of the body and the charis or the movements of the legs, all of which are covered from chapter in Natya Shastra chapter 8 to chapter 12. Every limb has shlokas prescribing every possible movement, for it's based on kinetic principles which has to be practiced and perfected as exercises. The sthana have 6 male positions and 3 female positions. Then there are certain sitting positions given under asanas. When these sthanas get mobilized into action with the help of the anga and upanga, they give rise to the charis, which are movements of the legs, involving them from the root including the hip. There are 16 bhucharis where both the feet are constantly in contact with the ground, and 16 akashicharis where one foot is constantly raised in the air. A combination of the movements of the various limbs create a Karana, Hastapada, Samayoga, Natyasa Karanem Bhavet. Abhinaya explains Hasta as the limbs of the upper part of the body and Pada as those of the lower part. Hence, Karana is made up of Sthana, Charis and Nritta Hastas. It is quite clear here that the Mukhaja Upanga makes the Mukhaja Angika Abhinaya. The rest of the body, the Sharir and their movements become Cheshta Kruta. Angika can be presented in two ways, It may be Padartha Abhinaya, where every word of the lyrics is expressed through actions, mostly through the Abhinaya Hastas. And other is Vakyartha Abhinaya, where the communication of a general idea of a sentence or mood is expressed through the Karanas or even the Nritya Hastas. For the actual execution of these, three mediums are given: Shakha, Anukrita and Natya. Shakha literally means branch and hence denotes the entire system of gesticulation through hands. Ankura is the sprout and the practical application of the Shakha to convey some idea, like idea sprouting out of the Shakha and taking form, is called Ankura. Nritya is non-representational dance made up of Karanas and Angaharas. Though Angika represents physical expression, it is tremendously influenced by the mind. The connection between the psyche and the physics is so intrinsic that even the minutest vibration of the mind gets easily reflected through the body in daily life itself. For instance, nodding the head is part of human behavior while reacting. The force, speed and space of our pacing also reflects the inner composure and conflicts. The art of physical expression is hence beautifully conceived, classified and glorified by Bharata to artistically suit a dramatic representation. The Angika Abhinaya had to be mastered by the actor, as there would be no Natya without it. Bharata says that where the actual property like chariots, horses, weapons and so forth cannot be used, the gestures and movements prescribed should physically convey the concept. Vachika Abhinaya is communication through verbal representation of an idea. Dialogues, soliloquy, lyrics of songs and even mere voicing of sounds will come under Vachika Abhinaya. Now we go further into the Vachika, as Bharata places Vachika on the highest pedestal by saying, this word, the Shastras are made up of words and rest on the words. Hence, there is nothing beyond words, and words are the source of everything. So he advises that one should put in effort to perfect the Vachika or the words, as it forms the body of the Natya. The Angika, Aharya and Satvika clarify it by meaning by making it visual. Even if the text of the Natya is perfect, without proper utterance it will spoil the communication and even change the meaning. As you know, in so many practical cases, you must have experienced it. So it is possible to have the contrary feelings, right, respect and contempt, to be produced by help of voice modulation. For achieving this, the recitation is supposed to possess 6 qualities. There are swaras, the musical notes, which are 7 saptaswaras. Then there are sthanas, that is the voice registers, which are 3 octaves. Then there is varnas, the manner of uttering the swaras, which are of the 4 modes. Then kaku, that is intonation, which are 2 types, with expectancy in an unfinished sentence and without expectancy as in a completed sentence. Alankara, that is enhancement, are of 6 types represented through pitch and the speed of utterance. Angas are of 6 types indicated by pauses, reciting in meter, etc. Bharata has devoted 4 chapters to Vachika Abhinaya. You know, from chapter 14 to 17, giving in the beginning itself the structure of the languages with vowels and consonants, Vyakarana, that is grammar based on nouns, verbs and their structure is Chanda, that is meter, Alankara, the figure of speech, the Lakshana, the rules of Prakrit language and the modes of addressing different kind of characters. The language employed should suit the character. He mentions, Bharata, that the 4 bhashas or languages which show the tremendous mental progress that had been achieved by the people then to be able to identify, that is, Ati Bhasha is the Vedic language of the superhuman, Arya Bhasha is the systematically refined language of Sanskrit, Jati Bhasha is the commoner's language like the Prakrits and other dialects, and Yonyantara Bhasha is the language of subhuman language of the birds and animals. Bharata advocated multilingual productions so that it appealed to all stratas of people. He recommends Prakrit for women and common people so that there is an instant identity and rapport with the commoner in the audience. Aharya Abhinaya is communicated through all the external elements such as makeup, costume, ornaments and accessories like weapon, shields, masks, etc. Even the stage properties like cutout of hills, palaces, trees, huts and so forth, as also mechanical devices come under Aharya Abhinaya. Every kind of external, artificial and temporary requirement for the presentation of Natya, including curtains, asanas, lights and stage decorations, will be known as Aharya. This all have to be, as Natya Shastra is talking mainly of Natya, this all have to be translated as the need of the dance. So, Aharya Abhinaya is classified into 4 groups, namely Pushta or model work, Alankara or decoration, Angarachana or cosmetic painting, Sajiva or lifelike representation of animals and birds, and personification of inanimate objects. All these elements add ornamentation to the play to make it a grand spectacle. Hence, Aharya Abhinaya, which forms which chapters? Yes, chapter 21 of the Natya Shastra is referred to as the ornamental aspect of Natya. Bharata says that this Abhinaya becomes more important than all others because the Aharya communicates the concept and mood by its dress and decor even before any action is done or word is spoken. Sattvika Abhinaya, the last, is communication of intense emotional feelings through physical manifestations such as actual shedding of the tears, experiencing horripilation and such others. The word Sattva itself represents the intellect. When all other Abhinaya of the Angika, Vachika and Aharya appeal to the senses and strike a sense of recognition and comprehension to the mind, the essence of the emotion of the situation is brought out through the Sattvika Abhinaya, which is cognized by the intellect. This is why a viewer is able to cry or laugh with the performer. Sattvika Abhinaya is essential for realization of bhava, that is the emotional states, and rasa, the consequent aesthetic relish. Hence, every one of the 8 sthai bhava is established with the vibhava, determinant, resultant in anubhava, the consequent, through the 33 vyabhichari bhavas, that is brought forth to the spectator through the subtle expression of mukhaja, upanga of the eyes, eyebrows, nostrils, lips, cheeks and the chin, and the 8 sthai bhava or physical manifestations of intense feelings of all these, leading up to the rasotpatti or the rasa realization or the ananda or the bliss in the viewer. This manifestation of emotions is called Sattvic Abhinaya, as it requires the mental and psychic involvement of the performer who communicates and the viewer who receives and relishes the performance. Bharata expounds the concept of Sattvika Abhinaya in chapter 7 along with the 8 Sattvika Bhavas, which are different from the other because it is not merely trying to show an emotion but actually experiencing it, like the shedding tears, and not merely enacting it with hand gestures and a sad countenance. This is what Bharata means when he says an actor should assume the form of the character as if he had transmigrated into it. The 8 Sattvika Bhava or the temperamental states are Stambha, that is paralysis or petrification, Sweda, perspiration, Romancha, horripilation, Swarabheda, change of voice, Vepathu, trembling, Vaivarya, change of color, Anru, weeping, and Pralaya, fainting, situations which lead to such expressions and how they have to be enacted are given. It is amazing to realize how many eye movements, drushti, and smiles, hasa, have been studied and explained by Bharata for the Sattvika Abhinaya. To enact the Sattvika Abhinaya is the most difficult. It needs tremendous concentration. But once this attitude has been mastered, the artist can hold the audience in his or her grip and give them the bliss of Ananda Anubhava of the rasa. Now let us look into, other than this Ashta Abhinaya, look into the Samanya Abhinaya, that which is born out of an equally balanced sama combination of Vachika, Angika, and Sattvika Abhinaya to communicate a commonly known concept Samanya. Samanya Abhinaya Nama Jayo Vaganga Sattvaja, that it should understood here that the relevant Aharya is already done, only then the other Abhinayas are commissioned. The earlier analysis of Angika, Vachika, Aharya and Sattvika Abhinaya are the basic components, which when judiciously blended together can be put forward in the form of Samanya Abhinaya, basic or general histrionic expressions which can easily comprehend, associated and realized by the onlooker. The topics which are commonly enjoyed by the people are based on human relationships, particularly the love themes and the relation between man and woman and their behavior in different mental situations. For establishing this in a dramatic presentation, the further psychological analysis of characters and their relevant physical behavior and verbal utterances are elaborated in Natya Shastra. The experts in Natya accept that feminine graces are the main support of sentiments, and these are registered through subtle changes in the face and body limbs. There are 10 natural and 7 involuntary graces in women, which are exuberant in youth, hardly visible in childhood, and lost in the old age. The physical graces are Bhava, Hava, and Hela, which arise from one another, each being a manifestation of an emotional aspect. It may be understood that Bhava, feeling or emotional state, arises from the Sattva, the mental caliber. Hava arises from Bhava and is manifested in the changes in eyes and eyebrows and flexion of the neck, indicating the erotic mood. Hela arises from Hava and is represented through graceful movements. The Samanya Abhinaya can be brought under 6 categories as regards the presentation of the Natya. They are Vakya, Sucha, Ankura, Shakha, Natyayita and Nivatyanukarna. Vakya Abhinaya is the vocal expression through the words or prose in consonance with the respective bhav and rasa. Sucha is indicative expression with eyes of the face and before the Vakya is uttered. Ankura is indicative expression with the gesture of sentence one feels in mind where the words are not needed. This is like the Sanchari Bhava in dance. Shakha is gesticulation with various limbs, especially the hands. Nyayayita is the enacting of a song, that is the dhruva, relating to the bhava and rasa of the situation, meant to enlighten the natya and fill in the time required for the other characters to enter. It may also be presented through instrumental music, but conveying the emotions through sucha and ankura. Abhinava says that it may even represent a play within a play. Nirvatyanukarna or vicarious expressions is used in places where the meaning of a sentence spoken by a character is interpreted by another character through indicative expressions as though the meaning of the sentence relates to itself or herself. The method of representing objects of sense organs is given, so also behavior of different types of women who possess the nature of gods, demons, Gandharvas, even animals and birds. According to dramatic convention, women are also classified as Bahya, that is quotation, Abhyantara, the noble and high-born, the Bahya Abhyantara, that is the sanctified quotation, and the heroines are of 8 types known as Antranayika, namely Vasak Sajjika, dressed up for union, Virhot Kantita, distressed by separation, Swadhina Bhatrika, having the husband under subjection, Kalahantarita, separated by quarrel, Khandita, enriched, Vipralamda, the deceived, and Proshita Bhartruka, whose husband is on travel, and Abhisarika, emboldened and moving towards her lover. The behavior of men towards women and the proprietor of what has to be enacted before an audience consists of various age groups and close relatives is also dealt with under the presentation of Samanya Abhinaya. After the Abhinaya and Sharira Abhinaya and so on and so forth, the end we come is Chitra Abhinaya. It is a special representation of particular objects and ideas with the hands gestures. It creates a pictorial effect because it conjures up impressions like a painting. It deals with those aspects of representation which have not been covered in any other chapters. We can see in the shlokas that the peculiarity which is required from time to time in the use of gestures and words, etc., and which have been left unmentioned is known as special representation, that is the Chitra Abhinaya. An observer in the earlier chapters on Angika Abhinaya enlisted the limbs, the way they should be moved and their uses, Vinyoga and so forth. But here is that Bharata explains how the idea should be conjured up, executing the hand gestures in a particular manner. Thus we have natural but somewhat abstract concept of seasons, clouds, rain, planets, stars, the moonlit, happiness and such other being represented through hand and other angas. It is essential to know the concept of all the Abhinaya quite thoroughly for creating the right kind of theatrical presentation, which will succeed in creating the desired rasanubhava or the aesthetics, relish in the spectator, which is the supreme purpose of the dramatic art. I hope you have given enough attention in the class and understood the most important aspects of Abhinaya, that is for an actor, for a dancer. Thank you. Namaste.